In the rolling hills and hollers of the South, there's a vine that creeps into every shadowy, forgotten corner. Kudzu is more than just a plant. It's a metaphor for how things grow wild when left to their own devices. Beauty and chaos not only coexist here, but are also one and the same. The Kudzu Project tries to make sense of it all. The small town struggles, the entangled lives, the deep roots, and the common thread that stitches our communities together. Join us wherever you download podcasts for fresh dispatches from the venerable South with our host, Nick Lucy.
So, Daniel, I appreciate you coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. So, I happened to listen to you at the Business Morning Update a couple months ago, and you spoke about economics and economic matters.
Sure.
You own a company called Integrity Financial Group, and you help people with wealth management and investments. And so you are very vested in the economy and know what's going on. I was fascinated by the things that you were saying and how you were describing our economy currently, the state of our economy and tariffs and the whole nine yards. Would you mind enlightening us? What is your take on the current status of the economy and the current status of the markets?
Sure. So appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Absolutely.
I'll get a compliance thing or two out of the way. I'm an independent fiduciary financial planner and advisor. My practice is Integrity Financial Group here in Hendersonville. And so, back in, I think it was July, there were three of us on a panel. I spoke to the local chamber of business leaders about current things, the economy, tariffs, things like that. So there's so much that one could say, and of course, you get in my wheelhouse, I can talk a lot. But the current state of the economy is overall good. Now, the challenge at any time, bad times, good times, is who says they're bad, who determines if they're good. And as I tell people all the time, don't let anyone tell you what your personal economy is, because you're the valedictorian of that, right?
Right.
In the best of times for the country, if we could pick a period of history and everybody agreed those were good times, I promise there were people who were struggling. In the worst of times for the country, there were people who were doing well, and everywhere in between. So as far as the country goes, obviously the markets, the financial markets are doing well. Interest rates are at a pretty good spot. We always want them lower, but I will tell you that a 2% mortgage rate is not a sign of a strong, healthy economy. They were artificially suppressed low for a long, long time, and then you have other segments of the economy that were artificially propped up by printing and handing out and borrowing too much money. So if you can get those off the table and let the natural market breathe, it's going to be your friend. And we are so much closer to that now than we were before. Markets, investment markets, financial markets, things like that, like when they can have a measure of certainty. If you want to kill an economy, if you want to kill an investment market, or at least do it great harm, it's not a recession, although that's bad. It's not a depression, that's bad. It's not a host, it's uncertainty. Everyone freezes, they step to the sideline, stand at parade rest, and they say, I shall not be moved. I will not do anything until, and that is what cripples and really harms an economy. So we have a measure of certainty to the degree that we can ever have. Everyone's crystal ball has cataracts, right? But we do have a lot of certainty measures in our mind. We are safe to say that we do. Why do I say that? Love it, hate it, like it, know about it, whatever it is, the big beautiful bill. One of the things it did is all it did is extend tax rate structure that we had been under for a few years. Those tax rate structures were set to expire. Many rates would go up, a lot of things. But so now we know, whether it's big business or individuals, can have a measure for the next, I'm going to say 4 to 6 years. As administrations change, things change, right? Policy changes. So for the foreseeable future, we can pretty much know what federal tax rates are going to be. That is huge. That is tremendously helpful, because now we can know, okay, if I invest or if I do certain things or I do well or I make money or whatever, I can pretty much know what that bill that's coming, known as my federal tax bill, is going to look like, right? So that is helpful, number one. Number two, it is very difficult to, if not all but impossible, to undo decades of, at the national level, of policy once you've gone down a road for a long time. And we went down the road for a decade, and I do mean decades plural, where we agree, disagree on policy, whatever, but policies just shoved out so much of our manufacturing segment of our economy offshore. Whether it's China, Mexico, Canada, it really doesn't matter. If it's not here, it's sort of secondary where it did go. So I will tell you that nationally and locally, and we can talk about local economic development things here, because you always want to bring everything home. What does it mean for my house, at my table, right? So we did. We saw all of that leave, and so it's very challenging to bring that back. Tariffs are a tool to make that happen, and you know it's just like taking medicine. In the beginning, there was a little bit of pain. If you look at what the markets are doing, and I don't think that's the only judge. I mean, I'm a portfolio guy, so I want my folks, my clients' investments to always do well, but it's not the only measuring stick, but it's a big one, right? Because a lot of the people who have a lot of money invested, I know sometimes they get vilified, but often they're the people who create jobs for people who, you know, who need to work. And so there's a place for all of that. But the markets are not hating the tariffs anymore. And I don't know that they ever did. You know, you got so many talking heads on TV, you can find any narrative you want or any narrative that you don't like, right? But the reality is, what is coming back, even just with the most recent trip overseas, at least in principle, we have some deals in principle, the manufacturing and the investment from companies like Toyota, just so many more come. And by the way, those are typically UAW jobs, so you would think everybody would be happy about that. But just as an example, manufacturing is the backbone of an economy. I am not slighting the medical care profession. I'm not slighting education, whether it's schools or colleges or whatever. I'm not slighting, you know, any profession as if they're not important. But let me tell you, the hub that strong economies turn on, everything else is a spoke. The hub that any economy turns on, locally or nationally, is manufacturing. If you don't make stuff, you're in trouble. You're going to have problems. And when you do make stuff, you have so many ancillary supporting industries that make stuff to send to you so you can make other stuff. It just ripples out like a rock in a pond. If you want a pretty somewhat regional example of that, look over the last 30 years at what BMW has done for the southeastern part of the country. I mean, it's located in Greer. It's about an hour from where we're sitting. But man, the impact it has up here. As an example, when you see, next time you see a BMW riding through town, look at the back of it. It's got that iconic, they've had it for, I don't know, maybe 100 years or more, but that circle with the blue and white sections in it. Those are manufactured on Henderson County soil. A lot of people don't know that. Right. And, you know, I like to go to Charleston. If you go down, I like to watch, you know, I'm not so big on the hot weather, but I like to watch the port. I like to watch the ships come in and out and things like that. And you just see cars, vehicles by the thousands lined up, BMWs and other makes. Yeah. Those vehicles are going out of the country. We made them here. We paid our people to build them, and now they're going everywhere. But those badges on the back of the front of those cars, made right here. So manufacturing is the hub of any economy, period. It pays the bills at the local tax ad valorem rate or level, and it supplies typically the best stable career paths. People can work, you know, on assembly lines. They can move up in accounting or management or engineering or design or whatever for those products. They often offer a lot of programs for people to continue their education. We have Blue Ridge Community College that partners with our local manufacturers, and we've got dozens upon dozens on Henderson County soil. Now, some of them are not much bigger than someone's house. Others are very large, as we know. But there are programs. It's a great career path. They typically offer very good benefits. They typically offer very good retirement plans that people can participate in. So it is a backbone of an economy. And as a country, when we weren't making stuff anymore, but we still were the number one consumer, we buy and use everything, or at least more than any other country in the world. It only makes sense that we make it, and we make it here.
Yeah. So we're a little less than a year into a new presidential administration, and a lot of the economy or the markets are focusing on AI.
Sure.
Does this feel at all to you like late 90s, early 2000s .com?
No, not at all. So for several reasons. It's interesting you mentioned AI. I also have a podcast, do it the first and third Saturday of each month.
Cool.
9:30 a.m. It's called Money Talks. We talk about all things financial. How does it affect you? Always bring every financial topic home with you. What does this mean for me? What does this mean that I should be doing? How should I respond? How should I be, moving strategically, things like that. Don't just get hung up on what Washington and Wall Street and California and China and all those places are doing. So AI. I just recently completed several hours of my continuing education. Every 2 years, most licensed positions have that, where you have to do a lot of hours of continuing education. A very new piece of that this year was on AI. So let's talk about that. Some people argue that, and it has some merit, that AI didn't originally mean artificial intelligence. It simply meant access to information, which, with the internet and social media and whatever. So that's the first basis for it. AI is man-created. It's not, we haven't had technology begetting technology yet. I mean, we have some of that, but somewhere along the line it started between someone's ears.
Yeah.
And there is a new, they say, is that a thing? You ever heard that phrase? But if it's a thing once it gets an official name, right? That's a thing. Well, there's a thing, and it's called unintended bias or accidental bias. And what it is, the whole point that it's saying in our field is, and I've said this for years before this became a thing, right? It has a thing, it's a name now. I've said this for years. Your financial future is too important to trust to a cartoon app on your phone or a nameless, faceless voice on the end of 1-800 someplace.
Right.
So why is that? Well, know who you're dealing with. You come see us, we sit across the table. You're going to get a vibe. Okay, this is a good fit. These are good people for us to work with, or they're nice, but they're not for us. That's okay. We get the same vibes too. But with AI and these technology programs, the accidental bias is this. Since it was created by someone or a room full of someone's, whatever, and we all have them, whatever their proclivities are going to seep through that. There have even been some cases, and I don't have the exact information in front of me, where they've done, it's been out long enough to do research and track some things, that there were some discriminatory bents in some of the AI about lending. Right, some of the poorer communities. Geography was a thing. Every program has limits. It's written to function a certain way. And if they targeted geographical areas, say for preferred lending rates, this is just an example, then some of the other areas that weren't targeted still had individuals and citizens that would have qualified for the preferred lending, but because of where they live, they didn't get that marketed to them. So when you're dealing with a person, we can bring that human element in.
Right.
And so I'm here to tell you, if you think you're a DIY planner, investor person, you're anything but. You're simply dealing with people that you don't know and you haven't vetted, and you do not know the guardrails that are put on your path because of their proclivities that come through their created technology.
Right.
It's a fascinating thing. So the bottom line is, Chick-fil-A, me, everybody, we're not in the finance business. We're not in chicken sandwich. We're all in the people business. And so deal with people. That's where you're going to get your best service and your best outcomes.
Absolutely.
Now, we use technology. That's a tool, right, that we use. But, we let it be the passenger, not the driver.
Right. I use AI as a Google search that remembers my previous searches.
Sure.
Because otherwise, when you go to Google and search, you're reinventing the wheel every time you search on something, and
right.
it sort of snowballs the information that it gathers. So garbage in, garbage out type of thing. But very good points, and it's all about relationships. I own a marketing agency, and there's other marketing agencies that are better for some businesses than me. Some people will like me, some people will hate me, and it all comes down to relationships and that human element. So that's really good advice. What do you tell young people who are looking out through this economy? It's hard for them to buy a house. Mm-hmm. It seems difficult to invest because they think that they have to put that money towards living. What do you tell these kids who are starting on the path? What do you tell them?
Several things. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Okay. Number one. Number two, the next 60 years of your life or more, of your financial life, buying a house, raising a family, working a job, buying cars, all those things, is like building a brick wall. You're going to build it one brick at a time, one row at a time. So what is the first and the foundational row that everything else is going to have to be held up by? That's going to be your income, your revenue. I love young people. I've got 3 kids in their 30s. We got 9 grandchildren, right? So the financial guy's going to die broke. Let's get that out there. But I'm just here to tell you, the first thing you got to figure out is that I cannot get anywhere in life with a 20-hour-a-week career as a barista.
Absolutely.
I love you. It's not going to happen.
Right.
That's fine if you're a junior in high school or working your way through Blue Ridge Community College. That's cool. It's not going to cut it, right? It's just not. You need to find out what you're good at, what you're interested in, then ask the question, what kind of living can I make from that? If you're good with what it's going to produce, then go down that path. But if you want different or better, or you see it's going to take more to make this thing called life happen financially, then, we're abounding in opportunity. Yeah. All right? You got to fall in love with a second or a third job. You got to. If you're known by name by all the servers in all of the high-end restaurants in town because you eat there all the time, you're missing. You're swinging and missing, right? You're going through a fortune. Everybody wants the result that they see their aunts and uncles and grandparents have, but they've got to be willing to take the journey. And your parents, your grandparents, they worked, they saved. They used, they reused, they fell in love with long-term meal planning and leftovers, and they made coffee at home. You can make coffee at home for 25 cents a K-cup. It's $4 at Starbucks. You tell me, right? I'm not saying don't treat yourself sometimes, but it's real easy. And I'll just tell you, if you want a good old-fashioned, perhaps unpopular piece of wisdom, it comes right from the book of Proverbs in the Bible. Get yourself into a career established, making a livable, you and or your future spouse, then talk about getting married. It's okay to get married at 25 or 27. It's okay to have kids at 28 and 32. You're going to be way more mature. You're going to be way more established. You can provide for them way better, be self-sustaining, be on a good path. The outcomes will be better. You could almost fillet generational poverty just by doing that. Verse in Proverbs says, prepare your work without, after that build your house, right? You can't do it in reverse. It's not going to work. You're always going to be behind the curve. So young people, fall in love with a second and a third job. You don't need 2 vehicles parked out front to the tune of $800 or $900 a month. You're killing yourself. You've got to learn to save, to live on less than you make. So to do that, you got to figure out how to make more. I will tell you, there are many, many sections of season and years in my life, I had 2 and 3 revenue streams. You know why? Because I had a family, because I had a home, I had to provide for kids. Plus, I wanted to get somewhere in life. You don't have to do it forever, but the best way in the world for you to get motivated to find a good groove for yourself is to have to wrestle with some undesirable grooves for a time, not to sit at home till great opportunity knocks, because it ain't coming. You got to go make it. I am not it can't be done guy. I don't deal with that very well. You got to figure out what it takes to get it done. Get yourself established, get your feet under you, manage your money well, pay yourself first. You've got to have money on hand. Debt cannot be your cash flow, right? It'll bury you. So young people, it can be done. It's not easy. The path may not be desirable, but if you will work when others are resting, and if you will study when others are playing, you will do what others cannot do in not too many years hence. And it is not that hard with the job market even here. Again, you don't have to do it forever and it may not be desirable, but it is not that hard for a young married couple, especially with no kids. If they each have 2 revenue streams, it's not hard for them to get to $80,000, $100,000 a year in revenue. It's not. They can do that. Now, what they do with that revenue is the key. So you can get a mortgage now for about 6.3%, maybe a little better. So let's just break that down. It is hard to buy a house, but it's not impossible. 30 years, $300,000 at 6.3% is just a little under $1,900 a month. That's a lot of money. I get it. You add taxes and insurance, you're talking about $24,000 a year. That's a lot of money. But if you have $80,000 to $100,000 a year in revenue and a household income, then 25 to 30% of that is going towards buying your house. You're in a good place. You're in a place that most financial experts advise you to be in, like that ratio.
Right.
Okay? So it can be done. It's just not all that easy. And I love to encourage young folks but you got to make some adult decisions. Fall out of love with video games. Fall out of love with, the restaurant and the pub and the coffee shop gets more of your paycheck than your household does. You got to fall out of love with those things.
Yeah.
And again, people ride by, your peers ride by and show you their new vehicle or their new whatever. Say, that's fine. How much of that do you own? How much does the bank own? Right? Yep. And when something comes, you can't call those people and tell them, let's go eat at McDonald's. If they don't have room on their credit card, they can't go. Mm-hmm. So you got to look long term. There's a future past next Friday night, and you can do this. Our ancestors did it. It wasn't easy for them either. And I hear people make the argument, well, my grandparents bought their house with 3 chickens and 2 goats as a down payment. Well, maybe they did, maybe they didn't. But that's not all they did, right? Grandma worked and washed by hand and canned and used and reused, and Grandpa worked 2 jobs, plus he farmed a little bit so they could have vegetables canned. So, it can be done. And you want a sense of pride in life and know that, hey, I worked hard, I worked smart, I leveraged opportunities, and I was intelligent with what we had, and we're getting traction. You can do this.
It sounds like a focus on the fundamentals, and it sounds like, correct me if I'm wrong, you're espousing the central tenets of conservatism in a way, at least fiscally.
Yes, it just so happens that's true. If it's real simple. As a country, we haven't learned this message, or this lesson rather, but if you get your income up as high as you can, do the work so that you can get to the work that pays you most. Then do the work to maximize that, right? Find out how little you can live on and still have a good life. And over time, you're going to have traction. You're going to get somewhere. I promise you. And it is a marathon, right? If you're 26
Absolutely.
years old and you look at your uncles who are in their 40s and 50s, they should be further down, unless you inherited an oil well. They should be further down the financial journey than you are. And I will add to that, I don't know that it's just some, it's not all, just some of the younger generation, but can we quit vilifying people that have done well? Can we do that? When I was back in my day, it was called junior high, not middle school. But when I was in junior high and high school, you know what aspiring young people did? They went and spent time with local business leaders who had done well, with successful people. Success is teaching a lesson every day. Quit rejecting it, start paying it. I would try to emulate them instead of vilify them. I would say, hey, can I have an hour of your time? And I'd take me a notepad in there and say, let me tell you where I'm at in life. What would you say I should do for the next 10 years? They love pouring into folks like you, because chances are many of those people came up worse and harder off than you are. They just made it work, mm-hmm. right? And let me just say this. Had you never been born, they'd probably still be rich. They have took nothing from you. They are keeping nothing from you, right? Find out what they did to get where they are. Now, a lot of people, especially younger folks, think, well, I'll just track what Warren Buffett does and do what he does. Unless you can match him dollar for dollar, you can't do what he does. Yeah. What you need to do is find out, what did he do when he was where I am to help get him where he is now, right? So turn these people into mentors. Call up a business owner and say, hey, can I shadow you one day? I just want to take notes and ask questions.
Yeah.
And let me tell you where I am. What were you doing when you were my age to help get you where you are now? Let's pass that on. And you can't do that if you blame them for what you think is a life you can't reach.
Yeah. Or you can follow the investing habits of some of our politicians that seem to do pretty well.
Yeah, that's that's a whole different topic, unfortunately. But yeah,
It's been my experience. I look at the youth today, and I see a giant fork in the road. I see some kids moving more towards conservatism, and I see some kids moving towards socialism. And they're both very pronounced in their movement, and it's very interesting. So what do you think we're headed as a society?
I think we are headed to more of way less and less gray area, right? It's hard either way. The problem is that some of the younger generation, they hear what they want to hear. They hear, "I will fix your problems," right? And a government that's big enough to give you everything you want is powerful enough to take everything you ever have. And trust me, they'll have to take it from you because somebody coming behind you, they made the same promise to. And if you depend on them to feed you, they will probably be empowered to starve you. It's that simple, right? So if you want socialism, I can recommend several countries that you can move to, and you can just see how that experiment worked and live there all you want. That's an expensive education, but if you come back to America, I promise you'll come back smarter and wiser. This is not about making people have a certain ideology. It's about cause and effect. And there are certain, they're not subject to political ideology, not even really subject to religious beliefs or whatever. There are certain principles in life that are cause and effect. If I hit my hand with a hammer, it's going to hurt. It doesn't care if I'm a man or woman, if I'm young or old, if I'm rich or poor, or where I'm from. It's a cause and effect thing, just like gravity, right? So it's about, look, you can have any social, and you will have any social belief or cause that you want. My suggestion is, if you're passionate about a cause, why don't you go out and make millions of dollars so you can make that cause awesome, right? Do that, right? Work both sides if you want. But, socialism is something that once it comes, you don't get rid of it. And we're a baby as a country. 250 years old is an infant. A lot of people don't think that way, but it's true as a nation, as a society. So the experiment is going well. It's not perfect. It's never going to be perfect for everyone. But if you want a hope of changing your trajectory, you're in the right place. Don't undo it.
I'm guessing that you've never been accused of mincing words or not being outspoken.
Well, I believe in clarity and honesty. My dad was 40 when I was born. I appreciate your service. He was a World War II Marine, which means he was a child of the Depression. That World War II generation, many call them the greatest generation. And I agree with that. But World War II didn't make them tough. The Depression made them tough. World War II made them tougher. And then they came home and they built one of the greatest industrialized countries ever. And he was pretty cut and dry. Son, it's either true or it's not. Be real. If you tell the truth, you never have to remember what you told. It's always going to be there.
Awesome. Yeah, I had the distinct honor of recently being on the Blue Ridge Honor Flight up to Washington, D.C. on September 27th, and just incredibly moving. There was a World War II veteran on the flight, and that just made it all worthwhile. It was just incredible. But you have a fantastic generation. So how has that outspokenness helped you in your political career? So you knew I was going to circle back.
Sure, that's fine. Yeah. Hey, I'm here to answer. First of all, I don't think I have a political career. I think that everyone should be involved in public service, right? Serve your community, get involved. That's going to look different for everybody. I was born in Henderson County. I was born at Party Hospital. I say all the time I'm living proof their products last a good long time because I'm still going. And I've always lived here. I'm married a Henderson County native, raised my kids here, run my business here. So, as we say out in the country, you can't sling a dead cat more than about 10 feet, not hit somebody I know, right? Or went to school with, or my kids played sports with their kids, or what have you. So I did serve as a commissioner in office. I was in office 4 years and 3 months. For those locals will remember, I got appointed at the passing of a sitting commissioner. It just so happened that and there are processes in place if someone leaves office for it to be backfilled, right? And so I got appointed. It just so happened that he passed away almost on the eve of what was going to be his reelection time. And so I got sworn in twice in 94 days. I got appointed. Less than 3 months later, I got elected. So I became a candidate. I became a commissioner. I ran my business, and this was all when COVID was raging, and I did all that in 90 days. So I had to quickly learn, where the county restrooms were and things like that. But I did serve. It's an honor to serve where you live. I'll tell you this, I don't regret a single vote I ever cast in 4 years and 3 months. Or the reason why. I was always very straight and forward with the public. I was the first one to call for a revenue neutral tax rate when the property revalues, of course, they went sky high. You're one vote on a board of five, right? So in this situation, one person doesn't get much done, but you can tell the people where you stand. And always try to be very clear with that. Always wished, and I get people's lives are busy and schedules and things like that, but I always wish that there was way, way more of the public involved and present. Our meetings were conducted in front of the people. We do the people's business, we do it in front of them. We certainly use their money to do it, because government doesn't have any money of its own until I take some away from Nick and the others like him. But enjoyed the work, loved the service. I get as many phone calls now as I ever have. But again, I've been here my whole life. I know folks, and I'm happy to help. Anybody can call me anytime. But it's a pleasure to serve where you live. It's an honor to serve where you live. And, we can always do better. And sometimes government needs to try harder to do more with less of the people's money, in my view, at every level. Now, the biggest impact you make is where you live. Because if, we voted for something to get built, well, I have to drive by it every day too. It's not like I'm isolated in Raleigh or Washington or somewhere like that. A lot of folks, especially those who have come here, which there is a lot, from everywhere but here, maybe where they came from, government is structured differently. So they think that we're in charge of the roads. County does not do any roads. It's the DOT from the state. The city does a few streets. So sometimes you have to take a while to let people know that you're not ignoring the potholes you wish they were fixed too. The school system is a state entity. I know the buses say Henderson County Public Schools. Think of the county school systems as a franchise. Yeah, it's from the state first, then the county. You got to understand the structure of what we do what they do and can't do. But hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah. Did being a financial guy prepare you for government, or did government prepare you for being a financial guy?
Both. The first more so. I feel like I had a leg up when we were starting to dissect the budget every year. If you start diving deep, you can find a lot. They say one of the best ways to save money on clothes is to go shopping in your closet, right? Start creating outfits with what you have. And the best way to find revenue is to dive into that budget, because, when I went into office in 2020, by the way, is when I went in, the annual budget was about $150 million. It's top 200 million now. And so nobody can tell me that we can't find some ways to stretch and do more without adding to that pot. That's $200 million out of Henderson County taxpayers' lives. It's that simple. Yeah. It did. It was helpful in the budget process, and especially. And of course, I run a business and I work with businesses. We do, succession plans, retirement plans, things like that. So, and I enjoyed the work, loved it. Hopefully, I feel like, and I hope that I brought something good to it. Yeah. If nothing else, people could never say he double talked. I didn't know where he stood, didn't know why he stood there. That's important. And sadly, it's rare. Yeah. I get that.
Anything you would have done differently, seeing how 2024 wound up turning out? Would if you go back in time and do anything different, would you?
Again, one vote out of five. So if I could change a couple of things, I would. I voted the way I wanted them to go, but one vote out of five doesn't make it happen, sure. Right? So I do get concerned sometimes with some of the levels of money I see being spent. I mean, you can't just say no to everything. You got to have schools. The county provides the school buildings. The county taxpayers build them, county maintains them, county owns them. You got to, as we grow, you got to have money. You got to know that you got room in your budget for the next add-on to the school, things like that. Capital projects, got the big new jail and courthouse project. Got other capital projects, got Berkeley Park, a lot of things like that. But, I'd like to see, at times I think we could curtail some of the money that goes out or allocate it differently. But that takes a lot of work. And so I'd always be looking for ways to, wait a minute, we can do this more efficiently. Right. And the problem in government is it's easy to, if you go into office, at your house, you're talking about, holy cow, that was $600, If you're in government, you're like, well, that's only a couple of million and we can do this. So the numbers are different, right? Yeah. So it's easy to get, if you're not careful, you get a little bit numb to those big numbers and they become commonplace. Yeah. But I'd like, everybody has viewpoints. Henderson County it has a history of being run very well. You are, last that I checked, of the 20, I think it's, don't hold me to this because I haven't looked at it in a while. You got 100 counties in North Carolina. I think there are 20 some odd that are considered like county to us, population, et cetera. Yeah. And when I was in office, you were 7th or 8th from the very bottom of lowest tax rate. So the county is run lean. It doesn't raid the people's lives financially. We have good schools. We have good school facilities. Great recreation, and that's growing. By the way, if you don't need to ever think that nobody's ever going to agree on anything. I was told this my first day in office, and I was like, okay, that may or may not be true. Boy, was it ever true. If you want everybody to be happy and everybody to agree, there's one topic that occurs on. That's recreation. All right. It's not that I didn't believe it. I just didn't realize it to the degree. If we could find the money to build 100 more soccer fields, everybody'd be happy. Yeah. They would. And that's just an example. I'm not saying we need 100 more or advocating. I'm just as an example. But we have great recreation. We have great law enforcement. We have great hospitals. Pardee Hospital is a county hospital. A lot of people don't realize that. It's not the old school rural small hospital, but that's how it started, and we've been able to maintain and keep it here and let it grow. So many rural hospitals have closed over the recent years. So the county does a very good job. We have great employees, great teams, great staff. They're not overloaded on employees. They don't just, get bloated with bureaucrats, but we got people that do good work, serve the people well. So it's a good place to be. Yeah.
We do have all the legs of the table with manufacturing, and
sure.
We have a very vibrant retirement community here in Henderson County. It's very appealing to a lot of folks.
Yeah.
Where are we going, the demographics? Where are we going in the future? I know we're up to 125,000 people in the county right now. Where do you see us in 10, 20, 50 years?
So as I was growing up in Henderson County, back then, the county, let's take me as a teenager, pre-teenager, right? That's a few decades ago. We probably had 50,000 people, 40,000 in the county now. And what we were primarily then was a summer resident destination. Few people retired here and were here year round. But in fact, the locals used to say, hey, it's almost Florida tag season, right? You see those, they come in the spring, go in the fall. That we still have some of that. And then we became the retirement mecca. The secret got out. Everyone coming here, the average age was probably 60, retiring here. Over the last decade or so, especially during COVID, that demographic has come down. That age number has come way down. Why? Because now you have the work from anywhere world, right? And with that, or the work from home and you can live anywhere, the younger crowd has discovered our mountains, our hiking, our rivers, our breweries, right? Our whatever. And so I'm going to estimate that you got two factors there that will travel together. I don't know, I think the average age in the county is still probably over 50. But that is ticking down a little bit. Now, the older crowd, by attrition, as they pass away, that contributes to that number ticking down. But as the younger crowd comes and stays, then it's going to go back up, right? So you're gonna kind of see the scales, teeter a bit. I do think the average age is going to be lower, and as we go forward, I know people wanted us to go buy the surplus metal and build the wall around the county when I was in office. Can't do that. It's not going to work.
Yeah.
I don't know if that answers your question, but if the younger crowd comes and stays, then you give it time, then the average age goes back up.
Do you think people moving here is a good or bad thing?
So in general, it's a good thing, but if I may, that's an incomplete question, hence it's an incomplete answer, right? So let me give you an example. I don't have them with me, but I have printed copies of letters to the local newspaper, and you could hear the table pounding and the angst in the voice of stop the growth, stop the development, don't cut another tree down, things like that. Here's the interesting part. I pulled two, there are many. One was from July of 1980, 45 years. Reagan hadn't even been elected the first time yet. So let's get this on the table and believe it. The quasi-angst over growth and transplants is nothing new.
Yeah.
Nothing new. Number one, right? Number two, and this is, I believe, the key, we have got to find a way for 2 or 3 viewpoints, which they can, to travel together, because neither's going away and this thing is moving forward. So we might as well figure that out. What is not going to work is hey, now that I'm here, shut the gate. I'm here, don't build anything else around me. That's never going to work. And be careful with that, because someone didn't want your neighborhood built before you came. Unless you came here and bought a historic 100-year-old house, change and growth had to happen so you could have a place to sleep at night. So why don't we all get back to being thankful that we live in the crown jewel of the country? It's so beautiful, right?
Yeah.
And I don't own it all. Number one, the angst over the growth is nothing new. And I can't do now that I'm here, shut the gate. So then it becomes, what kind of growth and where should it go? Well, we're going to have to get used to the fact that we are never all going to get on the same page there. The only thing you can be assured is that most people say, I'm not opposed to growth, just don't let it come near me. Well, again, sometimes that can happen, sometimes it can't. Because one of the reasons we broke away from England was so we could own land and have landowner rights.
Yeah.
Right? And I get that your neighbors have rights. I get that. We got to cohabitate here. No, you can't put an asphalt plant next to a school. And no, we don't want a shooting range, next to an adult retirement community, right? I get all of those extreme points. I do, I always did. But we have to understand that I don't own the whole thing. There's been a lot of, I get that my commute across town takes longer because all of you are here. I kid people I've always asked people, what brought you here? How'd you pick us from everywhere? And they say the same things, the weather's beautiful, but they always said the same thing to me. And I'm talking about 30 years ago as a young working guy in the business world. They said the same thing, man, the people are so nice. They've just been so welcoming. Okay, let's don't go from welcoming to resentful. Let's don't do that.
Yeah.
That doesn't serve anything. Right? So we gotta still be welcoming, still be thankful. I don't own it all, and I'm not here to stay. I'm here for a season, right? I don't want to see by the way, most people don't know how much of Henderson County is open space. How much do you think is open? You may know because you're kind of research things.
What percentage of the land is
fraction or
open
percentage.
space?
And that can mean forest land, farmland, undeveloped.
If we're including Pisgah National Forest, which I assume
Yeah.
we would, I'm thinking maybe 65%.
You're 2/3. So you were just a hair low. Now, a lot of that can never be built on or whatever.
Right.
But we're probably not going to run out of open space. We just might not always have the open space that you like or that's near you.
Sure.
And the old saying, if you don't like point number 3, revert back to point number 2. Someone didn't want your development built either. Right? You got to learn that you were welcomed. Sure, let's guide growth when and how and where we can. But let's understand that, getting resentful over someone else coming to take part in what I'm thankful for, to be a part of, that's not the path we need to go down.
Yeah. Well, I'm a guy that moved here, 2 years ago. My wife and I moved here from Colorado.
Yeah.
You could take the discussions on the Facebook groups.
Sure.
That complain about people moving into town, and you could just put any other city in America on that Facebook group. It happens everywhere you go.
Sure.
It happened where we lived in Colorado. The Denver area was growing by 120,000 people a year just a few years ago. You had people saying, everybody's moving in. To us, not only is the world getting bigger, population is going up, everybody's going somewhere. So these people that were born in Hendersonville, born and raised here, they're going somewhere else, and they're becoming someone that somewhere else is saying, I wish these people wouldn't move into my town, but they're becoming that, someone else's problem too. But, to us, it was always, you move in, I think it's hypocritical to say close the door behind you, because if you move here, you can't say that to other people. But I think you need to embrace the community that you live in, and do things for the community, and run for office, and join a nonprofit, and volunteer, and make the community better.
Yeah, there are dozens, and I mean dozens plural, of committees and boards that you can volunteer and serve on, and meet once a month. Some meet once every other month, and bring your ideas. But what if someone moves here and they help revolutionize one of our manufacturing industries and create great jobs and opportunities for our young people to be able to stay here? It's easy to talk with passion and fervor about development and growth and crowded roads and trees going away and housing and all that. It's different when you take the conversation kind of where I did and you talk about the people.
Yeah.
It gets a little more tender there.
Yeah.
And so let's focus on the people. Now, let me say this, just because people are coming here and continuing to do so, it would appear, does not mean we have to become what I don't want to see, which is Charlotte, Mecklenburg, Asheville, other places. Just because there are more people, that is not how that and why that happens necessarily. Now, that is an especially tender conversation that might be for another time. But just understand that just because people come here doesn't mean you can't still be a rural county, right?
Yeah.
Rural doesn't mean desolate or unpopulated. It just means not the heart, like we're sitting here in the heart of downtown, right? So the one doesn't have to cause the other. If you're smart about growth and managing it. But you do not want government, local government or otherwise, to have the power to shut down all growth and development. Because what did they do? They just made your land something that no one wants.
Yeah.
And the first complaint and concern, rightfully so, that folks have about a proposed anything, storage unit, shopping mall, housing development, whatever it might be, is this is going to negatively impact my property value, right? And so we got to stay out of that ditch. And often people run into the ditch on one side of the road because they overcorrected out of the first ditch they ran in. Let's stay in the middle of the road, and let's realize that we can figure this out. It's about the people, and let's continue to give out what so many have received. And that was a welcome to a welcoming community.
Yeah. Well, that's fantastic insights.
Yeah. And yes, it's going to take you longer to get across town and your kids to school in the morning. What used to be a 5-minute drive is now 20. I get that, and that's frustrating. But we can do this.
Yeah.
We can do this.
Imagine you don't want to talk about the parking situation downtown.
Well, so I will say this. At my office, which is downtown, I have free parking. That's an example of a good point you made. We have 5 municipalities in the county. You got the city of Hendersonville, of course, is the biggest. You got Fletcher, Mills River, Laurel Park, and Flat Rock. So a lot of people don't understand that within the territory of that municipality, i.e. the city limits, we'll use that as an example, all of their zoning, all of their governance, their city county, they make the decisions. The county doesn't override that, oversee it, approve it, whatever, right? So that is a purely city of Hendersonville topic. I know parking is tough. I know paid parking is not loved. there's that. But I'm not sure if that answered your question. Hopefully I dodged it well.
You did dodge it very well.
Actually,
very artfully.
Actually, I told the truth. It's So that is a city of Hendersonville. It's not a county, not a county thing.
Well, I lived half my life in Savannah, Georgia, and parking was aggressive to say the least. And you wound up parking about a mile away from where you were going. Yeah. In 100 degree heat and high humidity. So this isn't too bad here, if you ask me.
Right.
But I'm a glasses half full kind of guy. So
the glass is always full. It may be half full of water and half full of air, but it's 100% full of something.
That's right. That's right. Well, thank you for filling our afternoon with a lot of wisdom, Daniel. And appreciate you coming on the show. Is there anything else that you wanted to touch on? No, just nobody ever woke up on their 70th birthday surprised at how well they had saved and planned for the future. And everybody's got to have cash flow, whether you're working or retired or senior adult or whatever it might be. So if someone listening has concerns or questions and worries about their financial future, they're probably rooted in something that's legitimate. You give us a call, come have a conversation that will cost you nothing but some time, and we'd love to be of help to you. You can find us at integrityfinancialgroupnc.com. I didn't ask permission. I guess it's okay if I give my website. Oh, absolutely.
Integrity Financial Group NC, like NorthCarolina.com. You can call me during business hours, 828-329-7820. I've got free parking, free coffee. We can sit down and chat. You decide if we ever need to talk again, but you can do better things than you think you can do. I'll tell you, by and large, the portfolio world has had a phenomenal 2025. And
I've had a good year.
By all accounts, it's going to continue. And the best financial plans are written in pencil, so we don't just set and forget. We'll take the journey with you, but we'd love to be of help to you in any way we can.
Daniel Andreotta, thanks a lot for coming on. Nick,
thank you for your service. Thank you for what you're doing here in the county and the city and the area, and keep up the good work.
I think I might stay here for a while.
Well, most people come, they tend to stay and invite their friends.
Absolutely.
So no, let's get back to being a community. When my kids were teenagers, the house was crowded. It was loud. They had friends came. I used to ask my wife on Fridays, how many people are we buying pizza for tonight, right? But, now we're empty nesters. I enjoy that, but it's a whole lot nicer when the house is full of voices and laughter and everybody has a great sense of being together. I think we can apply that to the county.
Yeah.
It's going to be okay, big picture, long term. It really will. It really will. It's going to be okay.
Return to fundamentals.
Yeah. It's going to be okay. We're still going to have a beautiful county. More people come enjoy it. It's going to be okay. Let's just breathe. Let's figure out the best moves step by step. Let's be careful. Granted, we need to do that. But it's going to be okay. We can do this.
I like that. We're going to be okay.
And we can get along while we're being okay.
Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you, Nick.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
The Kudzu Project is made possible by the Lucy Agency, helping businesses across the South grow deep roots and stand out. Based in Hendersonville, North Carolina, this full-service marketing firm builds handcrafted websites, eye-catching logos, and social media that pops for businesses and organizations. Because if your story's worth telling, it's worth telling right. Learn more at lucyagency.com. That's LUCEY agency.com.
Everyone has a story. And at the Kudzu Project, we want to hear yours. Go to kudzuproject.com and fill out our story submission form. You can write your story for us to read on the podcast, request to be interviewed, or even nominate someone else whose story deserves to be told. The Kudzu Project is all about capturing the voices and spirit of our community, and your story could be the next one we share. Visit kudzuproject.com and tell your story today.